very warm welcome to all of you joining us here in Singapore as the clock ticks down towards the green light.
Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and this is the Road to the Record, where I work to achieve mastery of 10 games in a hunt for the best score of the Decathlon. If you like what you see, remember to hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. Let the games begin. This is F1 2018. It's week 45 of the Gaming Decathlon competition. We're in Season 1. We're at Singapore on this Road to Glory series with Williams Racing. 2 more upgrades completed, and now on the car, weight redistribution for the under tray. Also a weight reduction in lightweight energy store cells. So that's the ERS batteries. And we are heading to Singapore for a dry race. Once again, I have 3 options on the continued improvement of the chassis, but only 2 choices can be made. So I have another weight reduction in the wiring loom. I have roll dampers, which will improve tire wear, or another weight redistribution in the plank. I'll go ahead and go with the plank. This will be ready next week in Russia as a minor upgrade. And I'm okay on tire wear. It's only right around the last lap or so on each set of tires where I do start to run into problems. So while I'll want to get there, I'll hold off for a little bit longer and we'll go with the weight reduction here. So 2 more upgrades immediately on the way here with the chassis, and I've still got almost 700 points. Coming up next time, we're going to have some major upgrades available, and I am down to 2 weeks on the time that it takes to get those done. So that's going to be about 1,200 or a little over 1,200 points to get those going. But you can see just how much from the green line, just how much of an improvement that's going to get, and that could put us right up into the midfield and away from the back markers. We've already passed up Toro Rosso here with the current upgrades, and you can see with the 2 that are already now in progress, it's going to put us above McLaren and Sauber, who we've caught up to. And with those majors, it should get us up around Renault and Haas, if not above them, here in a few races. And in the meantime, continue to look in the aero department, down to the final department efficiency upgrade, which would be 1,800. Now they haven't officially said anything about the reset yet. Once they do, I'll get a good chance to make sure that these factory efficiency upgrades, that I don't have to spend points on them to retain them, that it just happens to do with the upgrades themselves. So we'll see if I was correct on that, hopefully in the next week or 2.
It's time for us to settle down and the drivers below to get fired up. Once again, welcome to Singapore as we get ready for the green light and the start of what should be a fantastic qualifying session. This is the kind of track that eats rear tyres for breakfast, or so I'm told by more experienced drivers than myself.
Alright, so I'm on to qualifying here in Singapore. Mixed bag of tricks when it comes to how practice went. I felt like I got the balance well, but in the different times, the balance felt completely different, which is pretty realistic to real life with a night race and how different conditions feel. So I'm not certain whether everything's going to work out.
If you have us make a setup change and you don't like the feel, don't hesitate to come back and undo it. You can save any setups that you like from the tablet, or you can always use one of the presets the team has built from our simulation data.
Coming to the end of my first lap here in Q1, and not too impressed with what I've managed to do so far. I think I'm a bit off pace here, but at the moment it is good enough for P10. But it's behind even Hartley, so there's a lot of drivers still left to go. So we'll head back in and reset, and it looks like we're probably going to have to go a second time here. After being in just P19, I come back out for a second lap. And so far I've managed to pick up 3/10 over the course of this lap so far. I'm having a bit of a rough third sector here. But my first lap was very rough. That was a pretty poor lap. This one, not my best either. I ran faster than this in practice by quite a bit. I'm still nearly half a second up on where I was. And I pick up 4/10 of a second, but it only moves me up past Van Dorn and no one else. I just ruined Leclerc's lap. He kind of messed with my lap though. Early, Sector 1. So I get to the end of Q1, and I only managed to beat my teammate by less than 1/10 of a second. So P19, we are the worst car in the grid, so at least I beat my teammate. But Max Verstappen on Ultrasofts for the second race in a row on the harder compound gets knocked out in Q1. Vettel was fastest by a half a second here, but it's only Q1.
Hello and welcome one and all to the shining streets of Singapore. Can you believe we've been coming here for nearly a decade now? It feels like only yesterday that Felipe Massa was dragging his fuel hose down the pit lane in that eventful opening race, and in a Grand Prix won from pole position more often than not, will we see a new victor crowned today? It's a 3.1 mile lap here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit with 47% taken at full throttle. It's hot, humid and bumpy around the 13 lefts and the 10 rights of mostly slow corners. But we should see speeds of up to 200 miles per hour along the Raffles Boulevard. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Now, I want to ask you about Stoffel Van Dorn. They've had to change their gearbox. It's never a good start to a Grand Prix when, right off the bat, you have to contend with a grid penalty.
Fingers crossed that's one failure they won't have to worry about today, at least. There's not much of a silver lining to starting down the field with a penalty, but I think they'll be able to make some of that back up over the course of the race.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Perez, Kimi Raikkonen and Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Sainz and Roman Grosjean, Alonso, Leclerc, Pierre Gasly and Ocon, Ericsson, Verstappen, Brendan Hartley and the Professor, Van Dorn and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Alright, so we are already by default set to the strategy I probably want to be on. This has been an interesting setup, really. Okay, looks like we're already set. I couldn't find the one lap pace, the qualifying pace, but I think I've got a pretty good setup for race pace. In practice, I ran a good sequence of laps, tires lasting decently long enough, so I think I'm okay if I can get into some clean air, and I don't need much. I just need not wheel-to-wheel racing. So if I can avoid contact with any cars here the opening lap, I think I'll be in okay shape. As much as this is a difficult course, and it's the closer equivalent to Monaco than other tracks, I run all right here. I'm okay on pace here, unlike Monaco. And with that, the Singapore Grand Prix, the Marina Bay circuit. This is a true street circuit. Gorgeous, gorgeous city course. Love this place. Great addition to the F1 calendar. Not so long ago. But with that, this Williams car is ready to drive slow. But hopefully I can make it go fast enough to at least be competitive. But with that, we've got 5 lights ready to go up, and we're going to go racing for the Singapore Grand Prix. Pretty decent start. Dive hard to the inside here. Ooh. Red Bull, you gotta give me some room. Light contact with a couple of cars here early on, but no warnings, and I'm into P15 behind Ocon, whose teammate Perez, I think, got, what, P4 on the grid? Woo-hoo-hoo. Boy, things got real tight in there. I full on had to park it. And Ericsson, come on. Give me some room to race, buddy. Amazingly, still no damage. Fighting too much. Very lucky I haven't taken any damage yet. Whoa. Awful turn there. Verstappen gets by me. I'm actually able to recover the position here. The heavy fuel load definitely weighed me down a little bit. I'm having a little trouble getting through some of these corners. In practice, I'm used to a lighter fuel load. Looks like Bottas has the lead right now. So he's hung on to that. That was Bottas, Vettel, and Hamilton were the top 3. Here goes Verstappen. I think this is a good time to let him go. Need to stop trying to race him and get on with my program.
Try to keep focus.
Otherwise, he's just going to spend the whole race hounding me. Alright, so it's now Sirotkin behind me, and I've got no problem racing. Uh-oh, there goes first flashback. I did that early in practice after I changed the setup a few times. I wasn't doing that, but I broke just a hair too late there. And with those quick switchbacks, that's it. That's all it takes. And then you slide off through that. That's the bridge-to-bridge section. I don't know what they call it, but it's a tough section to manage if you're late on the brakes at all. And the first lap I was late on the brakes, almost put it into the wall, so I've got to, and I think part of that's that fuel load. I'm a lot heavier. I've got to be braking a little bit sooner here, at least for the next few laps. And there goes my first flashback, which sucks because that's awfully early in the race, but at least I'm through the craziest parts. I've got Verstappen out of the way, and let's see, we'll go come in right out of that corner there. You see how tight that hairpin is.
Caution.
Ooh, it's Vettel! Vettel's got a problem. He was still moving, and he's still on the track, so maybe he's got a flat. And Hamilton, Bottas set the new fast lap, and Hamilton right behind him set another. So it looks like they are running 1-2 at this point, the Mercedes.
Race officials have enabled DRS. DRS is now available.
No DRS. Hopefully Sirotkin also doesn't have DRS.
Battery charge is low. If we turn down the ERS deployment, we can harvest more energy.
Yeah, need to get to that. Okay, here's that section again. Much better that time, and now I've closed up on the back of these guys. Verstappen stuck in traffic. Now, I made a couple passes in practice. I got to run in a lot of traffic in practice, and so I think I can handle traffic pretty well here. There's so many corners, there's so many places to overtake here, but it's not easy pretty much anywhere. Which is also why Verstappen is still just one position up on me. There's DRS. For the first time, but I actually lose ground that time. I had a bad exit from the turn. Ooh, that was close. I almost got into Verstappen's gearbox there. Meanwhile, Sirotkin's close too, so he just took a look. I actually found this track much easier in F1 2017 than I did here so far in 2018. I ran pretty well in 2017 and ended up with, I think, a top 5 or something like that, as I was able to find a lot of pace, but it feels different. It's a lot more challenging this year, and at least from watching all of practice, qualifying, and the race this year, seeing it in its entirety, this feels a lot more realistic. So still going on the long run here. It's lap 5 of 15. I'm still behind Verstappen. He is still unable to get past anyone. You would imagine if the cars in front of him pit, he would just start flying and drive away from us pretty quickly. In the meantime, he is still stuck behind what I believe is Ericsson. I've still got Sorokin behind me. He's got someone behind him, so we're not going anywhere. This is all a tight grid.
The gap to the car ahead is 1.5 seconds.
And that is Verstappen into the pits. Surprised that he is going this early into the pits. My teammate is in as well, so Sorokin in. Lots of cars in the pits that time. And I just inherited a whole bunch of positions. I'm up to P5 at the moment. Ericsson also still out on the track like myself. Brendan Hartley is behind me. So he was the one who was behind my teammate, behind Sorokin. A little wide there to defend as Hartley got a bit of a run on me there, surprisingly. There goes.
Alonso's just taken the lead.
Hartley went for the move there. Was able to defend through those first 3 corners. Keep him back, but especially with DRS, I am going nowhere and holding these guys up. Looks like the 2 cars behind just had a collision because you could hear the contact, but it wasn't with me. Whoa! Little brush with the wall. That is not the time. Oh, and there's Hamilton. I'm going to let him go.
Come on, you can win that place back.
Oh, Raikkonen just put in a bump, and now I've got damage to my wing, both sides of my wing. So Raikkonen just broke my wing. I had no wing damage a second ago. Raikkonen hits me from the side, but he must have gotten a wheel far enough ahead. Now I gotta test this out and see if I can still make the corners.
Take it easy on the car. We can't sustain this level of damage.
I can. The damage is pretty minor. It's going to be a little difficult to turn, which means I am going to lose a little bit of time, and this could really set me back for the race as a whole.
You'll be on the hypersofts. Gap to teammate behind is 20.3 seconds.
But it's definitely getting more challenging, more difficult to turn than it was. Van Dorn is behind me. I don't know if Raikkonen pit in, causing more damage to himself than he did to me. Definitely having a little tougher time with turns, but only mildly so. Maybe a few miles an hour slower through the turns is enough to get through them compared to what it was. But as my fuel load's getting lighter, I should be getting faster in that sense, and just having less grip as the tires go off, and that's really not the case. It's harder to drive than it was on lap 1. And I'm not noticing any grip issues at the moment, even though I've only got 2 laps left before I pit in.
Let's use some of this energy. Increase the ERS deployment. The gap to the leader is 19.0 seconds.
Oh, there goes Ricardo. At least pick up DRS here. And Doran's one I would like to keep behind, but kind of racing myself at the moment. Trouble from Van Dorn at the moment. With any luck, there's other cars that have minor problems here and there that are holding up cars in front of them.
In this lap, push now.
Here comes Van Dorn. He's not going to get up on me this time, though. Ooh. That was close to track limits. Okay, here's where I got to watch out. Nice, I parked it just a little bit in there, and it actually forced Van Dorn to back off. Alright, so I'm going to enter the pits from P7. And we'll see where I come out at. And we'll see if I get a new wing or if they're going to leave this one on. I would imagine they're probably going to leave this one on.
There's 5 laps of fuel remaining.
Oof. That's a weird check. That one's not set up correctly with the pit limiter. It should have gone automatic after the... Oh, they are putting on a new wing. They are putting on a new wing. That added 4.5 seconds to the stop. And I'm back to P20 now. As Vettel just went by Raikkonen also, so Vettel already had his own damage, and then Raikkonen, his damage came when he hit me. And that's to last place. Wah, wah. But I can instantly feel the difference. You can see how tight to the apex I was, way tighter than I should be, but after running those last half a dozen laps, I'm not used to a car that can turn. And also I'm on the harder compound now, so, or the softer compound, so I'm going faster. So we'll see what kind of gap I have. Of course, if I'm chasing Vettel and Raikkonen, there's no hope. Unless they are bunched up behind other cars. Now, Raikkonen and Vettel are both on softs, so being on the hyper softs, I actually have a small chance, but I'm 7.5 seconds down to Vettel. Vettel is 16 seconds behind Raikkonen, so I have very little hope. He might be on softs, I might be on hypers, but it's the Ferrari versus the Williams.
Car ahead of you has just fitted the Hypersoft tyres. Car ahead, now on the Hypersoft compound.
Okay, so now I have something to race for. Van Dorn has just pit here on lap number 12. He is on Hypersofts also, but you can see he is just ahead of me there. I have a carrot to chase.
There's 4 laps of fuel remaining.
Ooh, sliding, sliding, sliding. Alright, save up some ERS. Hopefully, I can catch Van Dorn before the end and at least steal one position. It's almost unfortunate for me that there's been no safety car. There's been no virtual safety car, and there are 0 cars out of this race. And there goes my second flashback as my thumb on the joystick got a little tight there. This is a long race, and it's a difficult one on a gamepad as you are just constantly turning back and forth. And that's my place. I just turned in that apex way too tight. So we'll come from right here. There goes my 2 flashbacks for the race. It's already lap 12, so I shouldn't experience any more problems unless I go and do what I just did again, as my hand is definitely tired. I would love to be on a racing wheel for this.
laps of fuel remaining. Trailing our teammate by 17.1 seconds. Battery charge is high. Let's increase ERS deployment to up the pace.
It was a close call. Small scrape with the wall, and had to really get off the gas there to correct before I could finally get the car back under control. These tires are falling off really fast. Here we are on the final lap. For the second time in my career, I am last, and last by a lot. And I've actually lost time on Van Dorn here, so...
Okay, gap ahead is 10.0 seconds.
Lost about 2.5 seconds on him since he came out of the pits. And there you go, your race winner today is Valtteri Bottas, as I finish up my last lap, and really struggling for grip here now. So the pole sitter, as seems to always be the case here. Woo-hoo-hoo. I'm finally approaching the fireworks. Oh, and Perez is out of the race. Not sure how that happened when he's not in P20. That's me. He must have run out of fuel. Well, not job well done. I must have made a bad tactical choice. after Raikkonen took off a chunk of my wing. I stayed on the track knowing that it was drivable, but I lost a little bit of time. And that was costly.
But at the end of it all, if you want to win, you need a package that's got the speed over everyone else. And that's exactly what they had today.
Ocon got up to 7.
The podium are top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
Well, I guess it's a good thing I let Hamilton and Ricciardo go by. They both got onto the podium. It was the Ferrari that almost crashed me out of the race. And they suffered for it as they were very much in the back of the grid.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Well, the gap at the top of the championship has been cut down after a difficult race today for our championship leader. Moving on to the driver of the day then. Anthony Davidson, who would you go for?
I think it has to be Sergei Sorokin. You know, good on the tyres, some nice passes. I can't really think of anyone who caught my eye more today.
And now let's take a look at the constructors' standings. Mercedes have extended their lead at the top of the standings. Meanwhile, good work from Force India this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. It was great having you with us for this weekend. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Until next time though, goodbye.
Alright, so Force India by a single point over Haas now in the constructors. Mercedes open up a huge gap now, 65 points over Ferrari. It was quite close entering this one, but with a 1-2 finish for the Mercedes team, who are now separated by just 1 point in the Drivers' Championship, as Bottas got the win today, overtaking Vettel in the Drivers' Championship and closing in to just that single point behind Hamilton. Vettel and Raikkonen are now in 3rd and 4th with Ricciardo and Verstappen behind them. So the top 3 teams starting to take up a pretty standard order between them. But today's winner is Bottas, 6 seconds clear of his teammate. They were well clear of Ricciardo in 3rd, rounding out the podium. Alonso with a solid finish in P4. And these are all one-stoppers. Hülkenberg, Sainz, Ocon, Magnussen, Verstappen gets up to 9th, and Leclerc into 10th. Hartley takes 11th. My teammate with, I think, what might be his best finish of the year in P12 after starting in last. Perez does DNF, but he still crosses the line in 13th, so he must have run out of fuel or something, or crashed on one of the final corners, but nursed it across the line. Not sure what happened there, but he does cross the line still well ahead of us in P13. Grosjean, Ericsson, Raikkonen, Gasly, and then there at the back you got Raikkonen was 16th, Vettel was 18th, so Raikkonen was able to overtake Gasly just before the end. And Van Dorn was only 4 seconds behind Vettel. I dropped back a bit further, pretty poor at the end, especially as those tires really went away on the final lap. Those hypers did not last that one more lap. Van Dorn, he pit a lap after me, and that made a big difference, as I had nothing left on those tires there at the end. But disappointing last place, minute 11 behind. I lost a lot of ground after Raikkonen clipped me and took off my wing, or at least a good chunk of it. And I tried to drive through it a good 5 laps, and I must have lost probably 4 or 5 seconds a lap, and that's what set me back. And I was never that high in the grid to begin with. I was running, what, P15, I think it was? But that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer, and remember, I'm aiming for the best of the best. So if you're ready to join me on my journey, hit subscribe, and tune in next time on my Road to the Record. Bye for now.